The next question is going to be directed towards Bebo. What makes an album bump in the whip worthy?
Oh man, it's a lot of different criteria to bump in the whip.
All right.
Break it down.
Break it down. Come on.
The first thing is, it's obvious. Does it bump in the whip? So if it bumps in the whip, it bumps in the whip.
What is that? What is the whip? Can you explain what that means, sir?
Well, you won't never understand. I can't give it to you, so it's but a couple other things is like lyrically, like if it's relatable for me, you know what I'm saying, something that I would want to cruise down the street listening to. Like to me, like Wiz Khalifa and Cardo, like that combination, that's like bumping the whip music. Like sometimes, like I always say, like in Atlanta, we got like two skylines. When you come down 400 and you got the Buckhead skyline and you come into the city. And when it's just like the perfect sunset, like riding through that, and you can listen to something like the perfect music for that time, that's bumping the whip music.
What does it take to make it bump in the whip?
Right.
It gotta bump in the whip.
That's what people want to know. Like,
It gotta have some beat. It gotta have some beat.
There you go.
So good lyrics.
Beats, lyrics. Sometimes one
Does
of
it
the
have to have lyrics?
sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
Sometimes it doesn't.
What's an example of something that doesn't?
Damn, I can't think. Some Young Thug stuff be bumping.
Like what? Like what?
I don't know my name. You don't put it on the radio. Like okay, like I'll tell you
About the money?
Huh?
That?
Which one?
That's the one with you, right?
Yeah. Like upper echelon bump, like that's
True.
one I definitely bump in the whip.
True.
Like 95% of Big Crit stuff, especially like my subs, like Vince Staples, Trunk Rattle, obviously. Who else do I bump? Like on some ignorant type stuff, man. I go back. Like I still bump Master P. You know what I'm saying? UGK obviously. A lot of down south stuff. I remember one time, man, we was doing a review, and I said I'm partial to Southern music. Mike looked at me and said, "Man, I feel bad for you." I'm like, "What you mean?" Yeah, Mike.
How long ago was that, though?
It's a while now.
Yeah.
It's a while now.
I was probably trying to piss you off.
You were. But like that's why I'm partial to Southern music. Like I grew up in Florida, so like I just love that. Like, I grew up on Trick. I grew up on the South. So I grew up. I didn't even love Outkast at first. I had to learn to love Trick. That's pretty much what bumps in the whip, and what bumps in my whip probably don't bump in your whip. So,
A second part to that question is, why don't you rate or score albums? I guess this can be taken by anyone who wants to pick up on the question.
Because that's not what we do. Because we shouldn't give a critical value as to what that music should be worth. We're just giving you our opinion, and we're not trying to tell you how great an album is, like on a scale of 1 to 10. Watch the review, you're gonna get 4 different opinions, and now you make your own opinion. You know what I'm saying? Because you're gonna agree with one of us, and sometimes you might not, but you have to make that opinion, and we're not gonna rate that for you. You gotta listen to it.
It kind of goes back to the question earlier, because it's more of the feeling of the music. And I think when you start assigning values to music, yeah, it's kind of cool to, like when the source is doing 5 mics or to rate something on a scale of 1 to 10, and it's fine. But I think, like you said, there's always a difference of opinion. And when you're talking to somebody out in the street or at some club or whatever, you're not saying, yeah, man, that was about a 3 or 4. Like, nah, you're not having those type of conversations. So, nah, I think there's no need to assign a value, because that's not what people do. So nah, we never felt that was necessary, because there are, 4 different ears here, so it wasn't needed.
Plus, I think we just wanted to be, I guess, different from everyone who review albums, whether it's like other magazines or other websites or YouTube channel. It was just like, well, we don't need to rate nothing. Like you said, we just giving all our 4 opinions. You're going to agree, disagree with someone at some point on this review. So take that with a grain of salt or whatever and run with it. So.
Mike?
I think rating and putting like a value, like a scored value on an album is just problematic, because you just giving your opinion, that's just your opinion. But if you say, well, this is, like you said, like 3 or 4 mics, you have to stand by that from here to eternity. You said this was 4 mics, and then what I've noticed with some magazines is they'll rate a certain album and they'll say it's a you know a 6 or whatever, and then they'll rate another album after that and say it's a 7, but there's more criticisms of the 7 than there are the 6, and it's just like there's no real logic in doing things that way. Just say what you thought about the album. And the other thing that it does, I feel like when you are trying to put these, especially those like numerical values to an album, it's once again you're separating yourself from the average listener. Exactly what Ken said. He made a great point. Like no one does that. You never sit around with your friends and be like, man, that shit was a 3. 3? What the fuck? That was like a, that was a 4.9.
Yeah.
You know, no one does that.
Yeah.
That's lame.
Yeah, but you know what else, Mike? Sometimes
What else, Ken?
we've seen situations where, you know, an album will be reviewed, assigned a number, then it blows up and becomes extremely popular, and then they got to go back and try to
Change
fix
it,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, because they may have missed it. So yeah, I think that was a good point. Like when somebody assigns something, now they got to stick to it, but sometimes they can't, so they got to go and try to make that right because of all the negative feedback that they received on that. So
What are the pros and cons of being a music reviewer? I feel like you've had some pretty good and bad experiences, so.
I'll go with the pros first because I feel like there's less pros than there are cons. The pros, I mean, I get to hang out with these dudes and talk about music. I mean, the majority of my life is spent listening to music. The majority of the money that I make is spent on buying music. So I like talking about music. And I kind of like the fact that people look to my opinion about certain things, about certain albums or whatever. So it's fun to engage in these conversations with people about music. Because I've done that since I was in high school and middle school. Just get around with people and just talk about albums. The cons, people are judging what you say the same way we're kind of judging albums. So yeah, that's definitely a con. Because like like I said earlier, if you say you don't like something and someone else loves it, you ain't shit to them. Like they are going to, they're not just gonna be like, well, you know, your opinion, sir, is skewed. Nah, they're gonna be like, you're a stupid motherfucker, your hair sucks, you're fat, whatever. They're gonna say anything they can think of because they can't argue your actual opinion. Because there's nothing they can say to make you change your opinion, and there's no real breakdown of how an opinion's supposed to be. It's a fucking opinion. So that's definitely a con.
What about, you know, you getting to meet some of your favorite artists of all time? Like, we chilled with Coming English last night. You did RA last year, you know what I'm saying? You get to meet a lot of, you know what I'm saying, these people that we tell y'all are dope, and they become fans of us. So I think that's a pro.
You're 100% right. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I've met some of my idols because I've been doing music reviews. You know, I met Brother Ali, someone that has been one of my favorite, not just rappers and musicians, one of my favorite people, you know, ever. I met my all-time favorite rapper. I met LP, you know. I met, yeah, you said RA. You know, there's still certain people I'd still like to meet, but I don't think any of that stuff would really have happened had I not been doing this. You know, I would never get the chance to talk to these people. I met Tame One, someone that I thought was one of the best MCs ever. You know, but yeah, you're absolutely right. That's probably the number one pro because we haven't met too many people that I've held at a really high level that were just assholes. Which I'm beyond shocked. I mean, no disrespect or anything, but you would think the majority of like high profile the shit rappers were just dicks. And I've met more assholes from other genres than I have with hip hop. Most of the dudes that I really respect in rap have been really, really cool.
Especially producers too. Like producers,
Yeah.
we've been like Alchemist is one of them.
Oh,
Like, just
yeah.
producers we've been meeting just been
Yeah.
like really, really cool and
I think we said that before, right? Like producers have been cooler than the
than
rappers.
yeah.
Like Willpower and Alchemist were probably two of the nicest people we've ever met.
Producers tend to be kind of nice.
Say again?
Yeah, producers tend to be kind of nice, in my opinion.
I never noticed.
If it's someone that like I'm already not a fan of, like if we like reviewed their album, or if I've heard their music and I'm not a fan of it, and we're getting ready to review it, and this other stuff that came out that I want to listen to, I'd be like, oh man, I want to listen to it, I want to listen to this.
Yeah.
But I gotta sit here and listen to this damn album. Like I gotta
Dang.
listen to this for the next, 4, 5, 6 days when this, 2 albums or mixtapes that came out that I'm interested in checking out. But I don't really have the time right now to listen to those albums.
Because you have to wait.
I gotta listen to this album because I gotta focus on that. So that's a con. That's definitely a con for me. Other than that, I think the best part of the pros is when like people hit me up either in person or on Twitter and say, yo, even though I disagree with y'all, but I still enjoy y'all channel because y'all are so honest, blase, blase. So I think those are like the best compliments when people be like, man, I disagree with you. Man, I still fuck with y'all, man. Like y'all so da 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 da. So I think that's the best. You think that's fake?
I just don't get that.
Oh yeah.
You don't get why people do that?
I disagree with you, but I still fuck with
I'm
it. It's like,
saying,
no, you're a
because they get it though.
or something.
Because they get it. I think they just get that it's just 4 dudes giving their opinions on the album. They
just never tell Mike that.
No, you have nicer friends
Fans.
on Twitter than I do.
You know what another con is?
What is it?
Just get straight to the point, right?
He's like, I'm mean.
Another con, it hasn't been as bad like the last 2 years, but like during the A3C, like it's like hip hop overload. And like I know like sometimes we go through phases where, we have holidays, people go on vacation, we gotta cram a lot of stuff in. And like every other Sunday we film for 2 weeks, 1 day. You know what I'm saying? So like that's a con, like just the time constraints that it takes at times. And I don't edit stuff, but I'm pretty sure for Modest staying up late at night and
Getting all the
watching
together.
everything that we do and then putting it in his mind and then editing that and just like the work. I think that's a con, but it doesn't really feel like work because we love what we do. So,
Are there any albums that you may have been too harsh on or gotten wrong after looking back on it?
Most albums that I did go hard on, as far as like criticism, like negative criticism, yeah.
You haven't went back on it and been like, oh, never
I went
mind.
back like, oh man, I was too harsh. This album was alright. Like no.
In that voice?
Yeah.
That's in my head talking. That's inside of here. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, most albums. Once I feel a certain way, like, and I've listened to it enough, that's it. It ain't no turning back. I'm done.
All right.
I'm serious.
Go hard or go home.
Yeah.
Mike, I know you don't feel like that.
No, not at all. There's been plenty of albums I've been exceptionally hard. I don't admit it.
No, you said that before.
Yeah, there's been a couple albums that
Yeah.
I was really harsh on. Random Acts was one. My opinion has flipped 180%. When I first heard that album, I didn't care for it at all. And it's because I think it was because it was earlier on when we were reviewing albums, and I had an issue with putting myself into a certain mind state when listening to a record. And I just didn't like it on first listen. I was like, man, this shit is not good. Now, when I listen to it now, I'm like, man, this shit's great. Because it's not overly lyrical, but it's not whack lyrically either. Like the dudes are
I
spitting.
think we've been rough on Jay-Z too.
Who?
well,
I
Mike,
mean,
I'm the only one. Who's talking about we?
I think, yeah, no. I don't think
I was hard on Watch the Throne, but
I was a little tough on them on man.
True.
Yeah, I think.
You think that was harsh though?
Yeah, that wasn't
harsh.
that was a review, man.
See, harsh was how I was.
That's what we're talking about. What are you talking
I'm just saying that was a normal review.
That wasn't
That
harsh.
wouldn't
Yeah, it
be
wasn't
hard.
hard. It wasn't hard.
None of us said anything really bad about him except for like, you should probably stop rapping.
Yeah, you said.
He's pretty bad. Mike, what?
You said you
Yeah.
guest features.
I think like where Jay-Z is now in his career, like I don't want to hear an album because it's like what Jay-Z's relatability is to me now is bro, you're at a level I'll never
That's the only
reach.
one that defends him.
I know,
So,
but
you
like
doing the man
but
wrong.
no, man, listen, Ken, why you interrupting me right now? I'm speaking to the people right now, man.
But I'm talking to you.
Look, where Jay-Z is, man, I just want features. Because when you hear him like on Seen It All, when he could tap into what made us love Jay, that's the Jay everybody loves. But when he's on his own stuff, it's just like, okay, I respect it. I know it's real because that's where your life is, but I don't relate
The
to that.
relatability, yeah.
Yeah, so I just love when Jay hops on other people's stuff or he gets inspired to give us the Jay that we love, like on American Gangster. So I just want features from Jay. I don't want no more albums, no mixtape, just give me features, man, and I'm good with that.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and open up our floor for a couple of questions. If you guys have questions, I'm just gonna go ahead and ask you for your name, and you can stand up if you want to, sit if you want to. What's your name?